This is the Distinctly Detroit podcast, the only pod that explores why one wants to be in the D. I am your host, Fyodor III, the director of the University of Michigan Detroit Center. Join me as I interview students, scholars, leaders, and innovators about living, working, and loving in Detroit. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Distinctly Detroit podcast, the only pod that explores what makes one want to be in the D. Our next guest is a clinical professor of law at the University of Michigan Law School and is founding director of the University of Michigan Law School's Entrepreneurship Clinic, where she represents University of Michigan student-led startup ventures. She represents clients in corporate, entrepreneurship, social entrepreneurship, and nonprofit law matters. Prior to the Entrepreneurship Clinic, she taught in the law school's Urban Communities Clinic, where she represented small businesses, startup ventures, social enterprises, and community-based organizations, primarily based in Detroit. The DDP welcomes Dana Alicia Thompson. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Thanks for coming on. So what inspired you to go into the law profession?
So it's kind of a long story, but I'll keep it short. So I'm from Michigan, obviously. I was born in Detroit, but I grew up in Clinton Township, Michigan. So that's in Macomb County, and grew up there in the 70s and 80s. And growing up, it was not a diverse place at all. We were one of very few black families in the community, and I faced a lot of discrimination growing up. And I knew that I wanted to find a profession that would address a lot of the discrimination, a lot of the inequities that I faced growing up. And the law, I felt, was a powerful tool to address inequities. So it's really my upbringing, where I grew up, the environment, seeing discrimination, seeing it not only in the community in which I grew up, but also in Detroit, that inspired me to go to law school and become a lawyer.
Okay. And So you've been practicing law.
Mm-hmm.
How did you transition from practicing law to teaching law?
Yeah, great question. So I still practice in a sense. As you mentioned, I co-direct our entrepreneurship clinic. Now, actually, I am primarily directing and teaching in our community enterprise clinic. And that clinic, we represent mostly small businesses and nonprofits, primarily in Detroit, but also those that are in other, urban areas that have been disinvested in Southeast Michigan. And so the program that I run actually provides free legal assistance to these organizations. And the students, law students who are second and third year law students, provide that representation, but I directly and closely supervise them on their work. Okay. And then I will also handle some matters that perhaps the students didn't finish, or other matters that are interesting. So I still practice, but I primarily teach. I started out my career as a commercial real estate attorney at a big firm in San Francisco. I knew I didn't want to do that long term. I knew, being inspired by my growing up, that I wanted to go into the law to do something positive. And I practiced for a number of years at this firm in San Francisco, worked in the private sector, but I had an opportunity to come back to Detroit and do community economic development work. Okay. And that's what brought me to teaching, and that's when I made the transition from private sector law work to teaching.
Okay, so you kind of get the best of both worlds right now. Mm-hmm. You still get to stay up on it, but you get to supervise and manage students
Yep.
and teach them as well.
Yep.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
So how does this program impact students in their careers? How is it preparing them to go on in their own practice?
Yeah. So the students who can take the clinic, they're all, like I said, second and third year law students. And they are the ones who are primarily representing clients in the clinic. So they're responsible for interviewing the clients, they're responsible for responding to any client needs, helping to figure out what legal issues we're working on for the clients. If the client needs documents drafted, they would do the work. So they're doing work of second and third year associates or first and second year associates in a law firm in law school, which is
Okay.
really unique. So many law school classes are more theoretical, like a corporations class or, a contracts class where they're learning about the law. In the clinic, they're taking that theoretical legal knowledge and they're applying it to a real client situation. Many students have said when they go to their summer job after taking the clinic that they know how to talk to a client, or they know some of the legal matters that their supervising partners are giving them. They already have a sense of what those issues are because they've seen them in the clinic.
So they get a chance to get ahead of the curve.
They get ahead of the curve.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So how do you determine what entrepreneurs get to be serviced in this clinic? Because it seems
Yeah.
like if I were an entrepreneur and I heard about U of M giving away free legal services, I think there'd be a long line.
Yes, and there is a long line. We really use a holistic approach when selecting our clients. The mission of the Community Enterprise Clinic is to work with organizations and businesses that are striving to create a vibrant, sustainable community. And the organizations that we work with, we want to work with those that are actively working towards social, economic, and racial justice. It's pretty broad, but we really choose clients that are primarily working in disinvested communities, urban communities in Detroit, in Ypsilanti, in Saginaw, Flint.
Okay.
And we want to work with organizations that have a mission. If it's a small business, many small businesses don't necessarily have a mission, but they have an impact. If they are bringing in workers that are from Detroit, disinvested areas in Detroit or Ypsilanti, or if they are providing a service that is not met, that's not already being provided in the community, we would select that type of entrepreneur. And a lot of the nonprofit and social enterprise organizations, they have an explicit mission to empower people in their communities. So it's a holistic view, but we are about social justice ultimately. And so those organizations or businesses that have an impact on their community in a positive way, we want to work with them. We also work with the Detroit Neighborhood Entrepreneurs Project, which is a program through the Ford School that provides resources to neighborhood-based Detroit businesses. So we will often represent those businesses as well because they align with our mission.
Yeah. Shout out to Aaron Jackson.
Yes, Aaron
who runs
Jackson.
that program.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So what are you finding to be the most consistent challenges that the entrepreneurs you work with are coming across or dealing with?
Oof, yeah, I mean, there are a number. Capital is a big issue. Lack of access to capital, that's a legacy issue. If you want to talk about the racial wealth gap and, the reasons for that, a lot of
We'll bring you back on it. We'll do
Yes,
a deep dive on
absolutely, absolutely, we got to do that.
Yeah.
But a lot of entrepreneurs don't have access to financing either from lenders or their own financing for a number of legacy reasons. So that's a big issue. Another issue is that a lot of people who start their businesses, they're really smart, they're motivated, they know their business, but they don't know all of the other technical issues that go into starting a business and running it, including the legal issues.
Yeah.
So that's our job, to help them understand why we're there and why we shouldn't be the enemy. A lot of people don't like lawyers. A lot of people think lawyers are naysayers and, try to tell people what not to do. Good lawyers don't do that. Good lawyers are trusted advisors. They collaborate and work with their clients to build creative solutions to help them do what they do, to help them run their business and to succeed. And yeah.
So what does success look like for your clinic?
So I would say it's probably twofold. The big mission of the clinic is to educate our students. It's educating law students, providing them with the knowledge and skills to be able to understand how to be an effective problem-solving lawyer. And then when they graduate and are in practice, how to use those skills that they've already developed in their practice. So, for me, having people who come back and say, I really am thriving in my practice, I'm thriving in my legal work because of the experience I had in the clinic. So that's one goal. The other is social justice. The other is providing resources, providing, the technical skills that we have to organizations that are doing empowering work in the community, and just being a partner in community projects and hopefully seeing projects like one of our clients is the Detroit Black Community Food Security Network. Okay. And they are developing a community development project in the North End called the Detroit Food Commons Project.
Malik Yakini?
Malik Yakini has been a long-time client of the clinic.
He's been on the pod.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, of course, Malik is like everywhere, and he is just amazing, brilliant person. But seeing projects like that come into fruition, that are community-led, community-focused, knowing that we played a role in helping that happen, that is just, to me, just feeds my soul.
That's dope. That is good work. So as we were doing research for this interview on you, we noticed you're on a lot of boards.
Yeah.
You are quite the leader. So
thank you.
How do you aspire? Did you aspire to be on these boards, or you recruited? I mean, how were you able to manage? You seem like you're managing a lot right now. You got law practice, family, board, different boards or organizations.
Yeah.
How did you become so wanted in the community, so involved and, out there like that?
Thank you.
Leading like that, yeah.
So the probably largest and one of the roles that has taken a lot of my energy and time is my involvement as a member of the Board of Governors at Wayne State University. And that is a statewide elected position. I was elected in 2014 for an 8-year term. And it's an incredible amount of responsibility. It's an honor to be on that board. And I was a law professor at Wayne State University before I came to Michigan. Okay. So I know the institution through my work there. And when I came to Michigan, I loved the work that I was doing and obviously the students. But I found out about the Wayne board, and, Debbie Dingell, who's a congresswoman now, she was on the board, and she was going to be leaving and I think running for Congress. And I know her, and she, asked if I was interested in serving on the board, and I said, yeah. I mean, Wayne State is a gem to Detroit, and it's a gem to the state. It's such a unique and important institution. And to have the opportunity to influence policy at the level, at a university level, was just amazing to me. So I, decided, okay, I will move forward and do it. It is a free position, so it's not something that I get paid for, that any of the board members get paid for. We all have other jobs that we do. But for me, the opportunity to, like I said, make sure that I have a voice at the table, and especially for traditionally marginalized students, Black and brown students, was really powerful to me. So I ended up doing everything I needed to do to get nominated by the Democratic Party and to run a statewide campaign, and ran and won.
And won. And so your 8-year term comes up in December.
It comes up in December.
Why are you not continuing?
Because it has been a remarkable 8 years of, it's been, again, an amazing opportunity and challenge for me to do the work. And I feel like 8 years is like a long time to serve in a leadership position. Typical elected terms are 4 years. And now it's time for me to, turn my focus to something else. So it's been an incredible honor, and I feel like I've had the impact that I want to have at the university.
What would you say was your, what are you most proud of in your time there? Your most proud accomplishment?
Absolutely. So when I got there, the graduation rate for African American students was, I believe, 7% were graduating in 6 years. It was just incredibly low. And now the graduation rate, I believe, is over 20% or 30%. I mean, it's grown appreciably. And I'm so proud to have been a constant voice in making sure that their needs are focused on, and that resources were put into supporting all of our students, but especially our Black and brown students, to make sure that they're graduating and getting the education that they deserve. So really, my advocacy and support for ensuring that Wayne is a truly diverse place and that Black and brown students have the resources they need, that's a huge thing for me. Because for me, I ran because I wanted students to have access to a quality education, and those who typically don't have that access. So seeing that more of them do and are taking advantage of it is just, it's a powerful thing for me.
Did you ever get any pushback from your ideas or anything because of your affiliation to U of M?
A bit. U of M is like the 5,000-pound gorilla in the room. I mean, U of M is just a global, world-class university. And I don't want to say there was pushback because of U of M, but
or
that's...
maybe challenged because they think your perspective may be skewed or biased because of that affiliation?
I don't think they thought it was biased, but maybe there's just this tension in the resources that U of M has available to it are quite different than the resources of Wayne State. And they're both research institutions, right? I mean, the three big ones in Michigan are U of M, MSU, and Wayne State. But, University of Michigan's resources are just above and beyond most public research institutions, when you look at the size of the endowment and those things. So I think people appreciated my perspective as a faculty member and as somebody who's come from or who's at this institution that's so well resourced and so well respected. So, yeah, I wouldn't say pushback came from
Okay,
that.
okay.
It probably came more from me not being afraid to speak up and to ask questions about issues that I saw happening there, because that's the job of the governing board, to speak up and to make sure that the administration is, adequately and, well, more than adequately, but effectively handling their jobs.
Okay. So what are some of the next big initiatives coming out of Wayne State that you're aware of as governors, things that, you're kind of sad, you're not going to be there to see
Yeah.
come to fruition, but you're excited about?
Yes, so one big initiative is hiring the next president of the university. We are in the process of, doing listening sessions with the community. We have our last listening session next week, where we'll hear from different members of the university community about what they want from a university president. The search committee has already been constituted. We already have a search firm, and I am going to be just a little sad that I won't have a chance to weigh in on that decision. But I'm doing as much as I can now before my term ends to contribute and, and shape what the position, what the qualifications of the president should look like. So that's one big one. The other is the increased efforts in really making diversity, equity, inclusion, and access a truly integrated part of the university's mission, and doing it in terms of faculty hiring, in terms of continued support for our students. That's another thing that's coming up that I'm excited to see the university do. And then there's also an African American cultural center that's being developed, and I'm really excited about that, and can't wait to see how that works out.
I've noticed, the Detroit Center is in close proximity to Wayne State, and I'm just noticing quite the building boom over
Yes.
on campus. Seems like a lot of facilities going up,
Yep.
a lot of things going on, so it's exciting, and we're very blessed and excited to be able to be such close to such a great institution. My mother got her law degree at Wayne State.
Oh, I love
Yeah,
it. That's
and actually-
wonderful.
And we actually have the director of undergraduate admissions at Wayne State coming on the pod next week.
Erica Jackson?
Yes.
Oh, Erica
So-
is fantastic. She and I were colleagues when I was at the
Yep,
law
she's law
school.
school as well.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
so-
Tell her I said hello.
We'll do that. We'll do that. So, what's next for you? How are you gonna? You seem like someone who's very on the go, busy,
Yes.
doing something. You're moving on to the next thing, but you're not gonna
Yeah.
just leave a gap in your schedule. So,
Right.
how are you gonna fill that time?
Well, I realize that breaks are important. I'm going to have a sabbatical coming up.
All right.
Yeah, so I will take a sabbatical starting in May through the end of next year. So
Okay.
I will continue to focus on working on the clinic in the winter, during the winter semester, and then take my sabbatical, and I'll have that time to really focus on what my next steps will be, with respect to the clinic or otherwise.
That is really awesome. Okay,
Yeah.
so we're going to transition to what we call our lightning round.
Okay.
This is an area where we ask all of our guests kind of the same questions. We've changed
Okay.
them up from last year
Okay.
to this year. But what is your Coney Island order?
Well, it would have to be a veggie dog because I don't eat. I look at that face. I know I don't really eat hot dogs anymore. Back in the day, it would have been chili, onions, probably a little cheese.
Okay.
Yeah, not mustard. I'm not a big mustard person.
That's fine. That's fine. That's why we do this. Who is your favorite Detroit athlete?
Gosh, that's really hard. I mean, I love the Bad Boys, the Pistons Bad Boys. I was such a fan in the first one. So Zeke, Joe Dumars, the Microwave, Bill Laimbeer, Dennis Rodman. He was the part of the original.
Before he defected to the Bulls.
And
Verners or Fago?
Fago, absolutely 100%. I'm not. I don't like her. I used to like the red pop.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Better Made or Lay's?
Better Made, Hot Chips, 100%. Lay's can't even match it. Come on.
Okay. Detroit style deep dish pizza or regular hand tossed pizza?
Detroit style, but I like Nicky's and Buddy's.
Okay.
Yeah,
Buddy's is the original.
yeah, yeah.
Favorite Motown artist?
So my dad was a Motown writer, arranger, and lyricist. Jimmy
Okay.
Roach is my dad's name. He worked with Marvin Gaye and Smokey and all of those people. So I just had to put a plug out there for my dad. That's how we actually came to Detroit, because my parents got married, moved from New York City to Detroit so he could work for Motown. Yeah. Marvin Gaye. I love Marvin Gaye.
Okay.
Yeah.
Favorite place to go in the city?
I love Belle Isle. Belle Isle's beautiful.
Okay. And then last question. Second to last question.
Mm-hmm.
Favorite Detroit team?
Well, now, it would probably have to be the Pistons still.
Okay. That's fine. All right.
Or the Warriors.
Okay.
The Wayne
Okay.
State
I like that
Warriors.
one. I
Wayne
like
State
that.
Warriors.
Okay. And then last question is, where can we find you?
You can find me on social media. I have a Twitter handle, at Prof. Dana T. Also on Facebook, we have a website for the clinic, the Community Enterprise Clinic, so you can find me there. You can find me on the University of Michigan Law School website, on the Zell Entrepreneurship Clinic website, and I have a LinkedIn page as well, so you can
Just
find
out
me.
there. So you
out there.
keeping your Twitter? I'm keep reading by everybody's dumping Twitter now.
I know. I wasn't a big tweeter, but now that I'm seeing how crazy it is, I don't know. I'm going to keep it for now and see what happens.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Dana Thompson, University of Michigan Law School professor, community clinic manager,
Community Enterprise Clinic director.
director, and former governor of the Wayne State University. I want to thank you for taking the time to join us today. We really appreciate having you on. I think if you're an entrepreneur out there and you're trying to grow your business and
Yes.
need some support and help, you need to look this clinic up. You need to check this pod out and get some good information. This is the DDP. We thank you for listening. Listen, you can find us wherever you get your pods, Odyssey, Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere. Subscribe, like, and rate us. And we also want to thank Slo's Barbecue for their continued support. And see you all next time. Thank you for listening to the Distinctly Detroit podcast. This is a production of the University of Michigan Detroit Center, and you can find us anywhere you get your pods. Please rate, review, and subscribe. This podcast is directed and produced by Marlon Franklin, edited by Taylor Henniger, with writing contributions by James Neely and Leah Allen. Thank you for listening.